Hello, I'm Molly Cooper, and this is a Snapshot episode where we bring you inside scoops from the travel, design, and creative spheres. It's the same Curator Spaces content, now in coffee break conversations. On today's Snapshot, we're chatting all about sustainable hotel design, and I'm delighted to welcome two brilliant British brands who've been leading the charge since day one. I'm incredibly excited to welcome Charlie North, Global VP of Design at Ennismore, whose portfolio includes the much-loved Hoxton Hotel Group, and Mark Tremlett, the founder of Naturalmat, who's been pioneering organic mattresses since 1999. Charlie, Mark, welcome to Creative Spaces. How are you both doing today?
Thanks,
Doing
Molly.
good.
It's very good to be here.
Yeah, we are here in Shepherd's Bush in the heart of London. Is this the newest London Hoxton?
This is the newest London Hoxton, yeah. It opened just over a year ago. I think that was actually the first birthday party last week.
Really? Oh, well, congratulations for that. And it's really bustling here. We're here in a gorgeous meeting room. And I'm very excited to get into the whole sphere of sustainable design with you both. But before we do, maybe we should start with some quick introductions for people listening in. Would you like to both introduce yourselves and how you've ended up here at Ennismore and Naturalmat?
Yeah, I've been interior designer for a long time now, since university. I've been with Ennismore for 8 years. So I started my career in other leading commercial design, interior design studios in London, which I did for probably about 10 years before I joined Ennismore. And since then, I've been involved in the Hoxton growth from the third hotel to now we've got 14 operating hotels and many more in the pipeline.
Busy, huh? Haven't stopped. And how about you, Mark?
Well, I've been, yes, I mean, I didn't start life as a mattress maker, but so my sort of original day job, I was a chocolate taster for Thorntons, actually, originally back in the day. But my father was a boat designer and builder, and I saw people buying very expensive boats but sleeping on a very poor quality mattress. So that was my kind of introduction. That was sort of the kind of, I suppose, the light bulb moment. Sort of, hang on, why would you spend so much money on a boat but sleep on a poor quality mattress? And so that's how the business started, by designing and making mattresses for yachts and motorboats using organic and natural fibres. And when we started, we decided that we'd only use materials from a sustainable and renewable source, and everything had to be either recyclable or biodegradable. So that's just how we sort of set out our stall in the day. And then it morphed in from doing boats. The first child came along, then we did nursery, then we did hotels, which is where we came into contact with Hoxton, and now we do something called bedroom, which is basically making mattresses for the likes of anyone in the high street who wants a good night's sleep in a lovely natural environment.
Oh my gosh, how brilliant. Such an evolution there from boats to bedrooms. I love it. Not the most conventional route, but I'm here for it.
No, there was no strategy involved.
No, I love that. Okay, well, let's get into it then, because it feels like you touched on it just then, using organic, natural materials. But this was, back in 1999. It feels almost a bit ahead of this huge sustainable movement we're seeing at the moment, a real focus on materials, longevity and all that. I know this has also been quite integral to the Hoxton and Ennismore and your design studio there. So we'd love to hear a bit about the evolution of sustainable hotel design through your experience, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, the Hoxton brand has evolved so much. And I think when we started over 10 years ago, it was always about having a sort of no rip-off policy. So it was about going back to basics and focusing on the things that you like about hotels and trying to avoid all of the things that pissed you off about hotels. And it goes from everything from not having a minibar in your room, but you can buy like snacks and drinks and crisps at the reception at local supermarket prices. And it goes just to having simple things, good quality things in the guest room. So the mattress was obviously one of the first things that we were looking at. We're in the business of selling sleep. So obviously we wanted the best of the best. And that's where we sort of started the journey with Naturalmat and with Mark.
That's brilliant. So tell us a bit about Naturalmat then, because I know we kind of spoke about it just then, this focus on natural materials since day one. But how did this partnership with the Hoxtons sort of come about, and did that influence your evolution, as we said earlier, through these different chapters?
Well, it did in a way, yes. I mean, when we started, we were making for the marine industry, and then my first child came out, and then we started making for the nursery. And basically, we were a nursery business, really, for more or less for the first 10 years of our existence. And yes, when we started, we were quite different, because we were sort of talking about the benefits of natural fibres and organic fibres and what they can, and the benefits that they have in terms of they're two sort of main things compared to synthetics. Synthetics is the alternative, and if you're making beds and mattresses, and if you think about general upholstery, sort of within the household, synthetics absorb heat and they absorb moisture, which are the two things you're always trying to get rid of in any kind of sleeping environment. And that's why we use natural fibres, because natural fibres inherently get rid of heat and get rid of moisture, and therefore they keep the body nice and cool and comfortable. And so that's sort of the guiding principle behind, and that's what natural fibres do. But we're a very small business, and trying to change sort of an audience with very small means is very hard. And so actually what has happened over the time is the audience has changed in the last 20 years. And it's a very different kind of environment that we live in to the year 2000. But so we did sort of fall into hotels. We started making my first contact was with Simon Woodruff, the guy who set up Yo Sushi. And he lived on a boat, actually, and he lived next to a friend of mine down at Lots Road. And that's what sort of got us into making mattresses for hotels. And then around about, but his first hotels, they weren't very big projects. But come about 2012, just sort of roughly the time that sort of Hoxton was starting, we realised actually that the world was moving in a very kind of green kind of direction, and we had exposure already to the hospitality industry. So we thought, right, so this is so we did take a sort of decision. Right now, we need to start directing ourselves to hotels. And in those early days, people were had a little postcard in the bathroom saying, if you care about the environment, hang up your towel, and if you want it washed, yes, okay, we'll drop it on the floor and then we'll launder it for you. But that's the kind of thing that's happening as of 2011, 2012. It really was sort of a very different kind of space to where we are now. But we had a meeting with a chap called Stephen Lloyd, who was sort of one of the original kind of sort of founding guys behind Hoxton, and worked with the early founders. And he sort of very much believed in what we were doing, and he was one of the guys who set out some of the guiding principles behind what Hoxton is, and that's what got us into Hoxton. So I think you are sort of our sort of first sort of I would say is big, I suppose, sort of corporate hotel customer.
And the rest is
and I think
history.
So I think we started in 2013. I think with Hoxton. I think the first one we did all of them, I think, was Hoban.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. And it's so interesting something you said there about the whole, little postcards. I remember them, and it used to be, put your towels in the bath if you want new ones, or And looking back, it was the first step of you then saw the little plastic bottles disappear, and you have now all hotels have the big shampoo things. Charlie, from your experience, how have you seen these things evolve? And a bit like how, Mark, you start with the materials. What's your starting point when it comes to designing sustainably and with sort of eco?
Well, the Hoxton has 4 main objectives, which is key focus points for our evolution, because obviously we started small and now we have a much bigger global presence. And we have the opportunity to impact the environment. And so the 4 main objectives are removing all single-use plastics from our hotels by 2025. We've already made really good progress in that. All hotels will be Green Key certified by 2026, which is a sort of hospitality-focused certification of environmentally good practice. I think Paris, Rome, and Amsterdam, we've already secured that certification. Amazing. And the objective is to do that across all of our hotels. Reduce food waste by 60% by 2030, which is actually a big key focus area is food waste. I think for lots of different reasons, and then net zero carbon emissions by 2050, which is obviously a massive goal, much longer term, much bigger objective, but it's on the list of things we focus on. And then with the other thing with the Hoxton is that we have part of my role is to run an in-house design studio. So we've been doing that for 6 or 7 years now. And we realized quite early on the power that we have to work with suppliers and manufacturers like Mark, who can believe in good practice as well. So we work hard with our suppliers, and we've created a questionnaire that we will give to our suppliers to sort of quiz them and test them on their sustainable creds, which is really important to us. And we'll always give preference to the suppliers that can support us in that journey. And also just by us asking them the question, I think it makes them think about what they're doing. So we have we see that we have great opportunity and power to a certain extent to help sort of steer that journey with the manufacturers we work with.
Definitely. And I think the thing about hotels is it's not just a restaurant, it's not just this, it's, you have bedrooms, you have food, you have co-working now, you have all events, travel, and you go into each of those buckets and you can break out into thousands of different buckets, from the single-use plastics to the food waste to this, to the mattresses. And then you go into the mattress making, and again, you can break that out into all these different categories of how you build the mattresses, how you transport them, and what happens at the end of their life. And I know that you have got a whole life cycle plan around your products, and would love to hear a bit about that.
Yes, I mean, in the same way, we have we've got sort of 5 sustainability sort of pillars. We did a sort of review about 2.5 years ago, probably, and we knew that we'd always been at sort of the arrowhead of making the most sort of green and sustainable product, but there's a sort of raft of other things you can do to be a sort of really sustainable business, and sort of trying to make everything a lot more circular is sort of one of our goals, not only from not just from a manufacturing kind of perspective and sort of reducing waste and reducing plastic. Again, we have similar goals to Charlie in that respect. But we look at the mattress and we've developed this program called Mattress for Life. Slightly kind of about 6.5 million mattresses a year go into landfill in the UK alone, so it's pretty terrifying. And if you are going to put a mattress in the ground, you've got to dig quite a big hole because they're not small. So just in terms of sort of in terms of carbon taken and energy and space, it's a pretty terrifying statistic, really, when you think about it. So, and in a way, we're slightly, and there's an element here is Back to the Future, because some really, I've got some really old kind of granny mattresses in my house because I'm a sort of mattress nerd, and they were made by Heels. And what you used to do is, because the value of the fibres was really high, and so you wouldn't throw it away because you're throwing away money. So you would send the mattress back to Heels and they'd be restuffed, and so they re-put horsehair in it, and then you have another label that goes on it with the date, and the last date we've got on these particular mattresses, last time they're stuffed was 1938.
Wow.
So anyway, it's a bit of sort of mattress memorabilia that I keep in my house. It sounds extraordinary, but anyway, probably people won't want to come to my house anymore to sleep on a 1938
they'll
mattress.
Check into the Hoxton.
And they'll check into the Hoxton. Sadly, I live in Devon. There's not one on the horizon for Devon, I don't think, at the moment. But so it's sort of slightly Back to the Future. And so what we say, you've got 3 options. So you've got refurb. So you can send your old mattress back to us. We put it to pieces. We change the cover. We ordered all the materials that are inside it. And then we change those materials that need changing, and then it goes back to the customer. So the customer gets his old mattress back for a fraction of what it would cost for a new one. Number 2 is I don't want my mattress back, so it goes off to be recycled. And so all of the elements that go into the mattress can be disassembled, and they go into their separate recycling streams. And then you get a credit for the value of the materials that you've recovered, and that goes towards your new mattress. And the third thing is donate. So he said, no, I don't want my mattress back. I want it to go. Sleep poverty is a huge issue in our society. There are thousands and thousands of people that don't have any mattress at all or bed. And so one of our aims is to try and sort of help alleviate that as much as we can. And one of our goals is to try and dedicate sort of 5% of our production capacity to aiding sleep poverty by 2026. So we have found a man called Arthur in Liverpool, and he's invented the world's first mattress washing machine. So mattress comes back to us. We do a triage to make sure that everything's in the right place. And then it goes off to this Arthur in Liverpool, and it has a sort of 3 different chambers in this mattress washing machine. One's steam, one's ozone, and one's UV, and it comes out of it with a bill of health the same as you have in a operating theatre. And then it goes into sleep and furniture poverty charities in Liverpool, Oldham, and Manchester. So it goes to people who don't have any mattress at all.
Yeah.
So that's what can happen now to a Naturalmat mattress. So basically, we're trying to avoid anything going to landfill and provide sort of, good out of, what we're doing.
I think that's so amazing that not only is it sustainable, but it's doing its bit for society as well and giving back on a social level. I think that's so important. And I think you were saying that some of the Hoxton's mattresses have gone through that process.
Yes, they have. Yes. I think some from Hoban, so the very first ones, I think they lasted, 8 or 9 years. And then I think we've changed probably, I think we've only done like sort of 15 to 20, I think, and we did that maybe sort of a year or so ago. And they went off to be, they all went off to be recycled.
Oh, love it. And how about you, Charlie? Because I know that the Hoxton also runs quite a few initiatives similar to the mattress recycling, just trying to do a bit of good for the world and for the communities that the hotels are in.
Yeah, the Hoxton's overarching statement is a good neighbour with an open house. And that sort of reflects how we want to interact with the local community. And also, in terms of looking after the local community, making sure that they're welcome. Everyone's welcome in the Hoxton lobby. You'll see people sat there all day on their laptops, but we embrace that. And we really want people to be there and to experience our spaces.
Yeah.
And we have this part of this sort of good neighbour, sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Initiative. Is one thing. We have the good rate, so you get £20, dollars or euros off your night stay if you arrive by train instead of aeroplane, for example, which is something that we launched quite recently. We've also done all of our hotels have they have a charitable element, and they're always targeted at homelessness. So similar to what Mark was saying, we're talking about the same things, and we have a Stay for a Stay initiative. So in the winter months, if you book directly through the Hoxton website, then for every night stay that is booked, we will donate a night in a homeless shelter for our local partner charity, basically. So every Hoxton has a local homelessness charity that we partner with. In London, it's Shelter from the Storm.
I love that. And I think you're so right that hotels can play such a big role in shaping and leading on things like sustainability, but also on social causes, and really being more than just a place for people to stay, but part of the community, being a good neighbour, like you say, which I really like. And I'd love to finish with a little sort of, if anyone's listening and they're really interested in this topic, or they just want to sort of look at their own sustainability habits, or maybe they're opening a hotel, do you have any like hands-on advice or maybe tips or good resources that people could go and look at and explore to start their own sort of sustainable journey, whether that's commercially or just residentially in their homes?
For us, from a design perspective, the easiest and most exciting place to start is with vintage furniture. And you'll see this a lot in the Hoxton, that a good sort of 40% of the furniture in the public spaces will be vintage, be it light fittings or tables or even chairs and upholstered items. So I think that's a really lovely place for people to start in a less commercial sense and just in a residential setting. Get a much more sort of eclectic look to your home and avoid potentially purchasing from mass produce in other parts of the world that has to be shipped, and there's all sorts of problems then with the manufacturing process and the shipping journey and the packaging. If you can buy locally vintage items where they don't have to be shipped across the world to get to you, then I think it's just an amazing opportunity, and it just adds some character to your home. And
a bit of fun, go treasure hunting.
Yeah,
Do you have any favourite spots to go vintage sourcing?
We have a few, yeah. There's some amazing markets around London, but also I live in East London, so there's plenty of small shops that I would go to on a regular basis. And my wife gets very annoyed with me.
I can imagine. Another Venetian dresser that was essential, darling. Yeah.
No space for it. But.
I love it. And how about you, Mark?
I think when it comes to sort of furniture, it's probably just do your research a little bit, really. The choice is wide now. But also, it should be quite easy to find out what goes in to what you're considering. And I think that the more transparent the offer is, then the more likely it is to have good provenance. And so I suppose it comes down to, and I think that, the market is getting more and more educated and more cultured towards sort of sustainable and environmental issues. And they are becoming a more important aspect within that buying decision. And then just use that criteria and just quiz and just find out where, what does go into it, where's it from, what happens to it afterwards, and think about what benefit will it give to me? Because, sleep is now a really big part of sort of wellness. It didn't used to be just what you ate and and how you exercise, but now it's how you sleep too. So, everything that goes in might have a bearing on how you sleep. So think about those sort of elements and just sort of do your research and ask the questions, really. That's from my side, I think that's the fundamental thing.
Mm-hmm. And are there any specific materials you should be watching out for and give a wide berth? Or
Well, it is always horses for courses, and there's price points. Mm-hmm. But, if you want, natural fibres will be more expensive because just intrinsically, if you're looking at a mattress, if all it's got in it is a spring and then a layer of polyurethane and some polyester over the top, it shouldn't be very expensive. Mm-hmm. But if it's got lots of lovely layers of horsehair and wool and cotton, all those kind of things, then those are materials that will be long-lasting. They will be comfortable, but they will make it more expensive.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I love it. Do your research and dive into a vintage fair near you. It's been such a pleasure having you both on the podcast. Before we do go, I do have a closing tradition of a quick fire round. This week's are all design and sleep related. So let's kick off with, what is your one top tip for a good night's sleep?
Early night and herbal tea.
Oh, lovely. Any favourite flavours?
I do quite like pucker.
Oh, yeah. Can't go wrong.
They're quite good. I think, nighttime pucker with some honey. It's very good. Even better is we do have some verveine at home. So just just dried verveine, again, with a dash of honey. Very nice.
Very French. Ooh la la. How about you, Charlie?
I actually just bought a scented candle last weekend, which is supposed to help with sleep. I think I'm a massive fan of dim lights and a good aroma, and also ahead of a spray, which is a lavender spray to put on your pillows, which definitely, I feel like I've noticed a difference.
Yeah.
Helps me drift off.
We'll take that. If it's helping, it's working.
He's looking very healthy.
You are. It's a shame we're not recording this. And in terms of sleeping, are you happier when it's a hot night or a cold night?
For me, cold.
Yeah.
I actually sleep with the balcony door open every night.
Yeah.
Even throughout the winter, just to get some fresh air. And I love sleeping in the cold. And then you can be nice and cozy under your duvet.
Love.
Likewise, cold. Got to be cold. Got to be cold. No, I'm not a fan of very hot places. So yeah,
It's the worst
keep
thing
it
about
keep it
summer.
cool. Keep a breeze. I think that's definitely for me. That's the way forward.
Mm-hmm. Love it. And when it comes to designing a calm, relaxing bedroom, what are your top tips?
I think I could come back to lighting every time, to be honest. I think for me, it's about creating an atmosphere where you can feel cozy and peaceful. It could be candles, it could be dim lights, also the color temperature of your lights to make sure it's nice and warm and avoid sort of cold fluorescent lights. For me, that is the top tip, and color scheme will also impact that and the paints that you use on your wall. It's quite interesting. It might be interesting to touch on a conversation that Mark and I had with Bronwyn, who is the founder of Bowerwork Paints, a few weeks ago. And it's really, she has so much incredible insight into the quality of the paint that you use in your rooms and the unknown effects of some more traditional paints and the chemicals that are used in paint manufacture. So Bowerwork Paints they're all natural materials. And we had a really interesting conversation with her about the sort of psychological effects and potentially the physical effects on your body of sleeping around these natural materials.
That's amazing. I love Bowerwork. Great finish. Yeah. How about you, Mark?
I was going to talk about paint too. I must say, yes, it is very important. But yes, keeping it calm and just soft lighting, cozy, something that Charlie mentioned. I think that's really important, that you feel slightly cocooned when you go into your room. And from a bed perspective, choose the biggest bed you can fit in your room. It's always, it is good to have, people need their own space within their bed. And so try and have the biggest bed that you can fit within your room. And that will help give you a sort of, what you want is sort of an untroubled night. And you've got a better chance of doing that if you have got more space around you.
Get that super king, yeah.
I would also say you spend at least a third of your life in bed, so invest in it. And, I actually invested in some really good quality pillows recently, and they're oversized pillows for the size of my bed, but they're just incredibly comfortable. And I really think it's a worthwhile investment because you spend so much of your time asleep.
Yeah, it's quite scary when you put it like that, isn't it? Yeah, consider this your message to go and buy a mattress and some nice pillows immediately.
Yes. Think about what you spend on coffee every day, and then you multiply that by a couple of years, and then think, oh, okay, that's a big number. You know, you could probably buy a very expensive mattress for what you spend on coffee over 18 months.
That's actually
So think about your priorities a little bit. Yes.
Prioritise right, people. And finally, is there an influential person or thing or moment in your past that sort of led you along this sustainability or design journey for each of you?
Design journey. I mean, you know, we now sort of, you know, I can't say I've designed the mattress because that would be a very easy task because they're all just rectangular. But we do get involved in design for all our headboards and all our bed bases, and we have quite a wide range of that now. So we've always been involved in sort of the design of the bed element, and it is, you know, it's an area which I sort of really enjoy. But I suppose the people that I've always really admired are people like Eames, Frank Lloyd Wright, from architecture, Le Corbusier, people who had sort of very sort of simple and sort of very simple and very clean designs, really. So those are sort of some people that I've always admired.
Very good choices. How about you, Charlie? I feel like you might have a few to pull from.
For me, I think aesthetically, from a design perspective, I'm really drawn to the works of Axel Vervoort and Vincent van Dyson. So very pared back and really relying on the finishes to do the talking. I love that. It's a slightly more minimal approach, inspired by sort of Belgian design. I'd also say I'm just inspired by hospitality, to be honest, and not any specific designer, but just by hotels. Yeah. And we spend a lot of our time, my wife and I, researching hotels and staying in hotels as much as possible, because I just think it's a really amazing industry that we're in. And I take inspiration from everywhere that I go.
Yeah, I love that. And what a lovely note to end on. Thank you so much, both of you, for coming on today. It's been such a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Yeah, that was great.
Thank you so much for listening to this Curated Spaces episode. And if you've enjoyed listening, please do hit that follow or subscribe button. It helps so much with finding new brilliant partners who keep the podcast going so that we can keep sharing the stories behind all of these amazing spaces. And if you are looking for more content, you can find links in the show notes to both our Instagram and Substack, or you can subscribe for our weekly roundup of slow travel and under the radar finds. But I'll catch you next time for more Curated Spaces.